You're listening to the Take Your Shot podcast, a podcast for wedding photographers and videographers looking to grow and scale their business. I'm your host, Hallie Heather, and my goal is for you to walk away feeling empowered and inspired as you continue to build a business that you're passionate about and that serves both you and your clients well. So, whether you're operating as a side hustle or you're looking for tips and tricks on how to improve and scale your business, you, my friend, are in the right place. You don't have to figure it all out on your own, and I'm so glad you're here. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Take Your Shot podcast. You guys, I am so happy you're here. And right now it is September. It is mid-September and I'm just looking at my calendar and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I'm like, man, I feel like September's already over. In fact, I'm looking at October and I feel like October's already over. It is busy season. And anyone who's a wedding photographer, especially in the Midwest, you might be feeling that right now too. And so for this episode, I would really love to just talk through things that have helped me in busy season and just tools and tricks and ways to just kind of like prepare yourself or even just like get yourself out of a rut if you're feeling like you're overwhelmed right now. So I really think this is a timely episode and I really hope to encourage and empower people in your own journey and in your own business because I myself, this is also an episode for me and this has been something I've been reflecting on a lot in my own life as I've been feeling a little overwhelmed myself. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love what I do. Wedding season is my favorite. I love people. I love weddings. I love just so much that comes with this job. However, I'm not immune to this either. And so I've had to kind of center myself and take myself back to not only the why I do what I do, which is what we talked about last week, but also just the importance of taking care of yourself even in the midst of busy season. Because I think it can be so easy to put those things off to the side and kind of think like, oh, I just got to keep getting through this. But let me tell you, friend, the gallery that you're working on can probably wait another day if it means that you need to take care of yourself because you pouring from an empty cup is really, really tough. And that's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve your clients. It's not going to serve future weddings and other sessions you might have booked. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, but I don't have time, I want you to know that like it's okay to take that time. You didn't come into this job, I don't think, only to work 24/7. And I think right now in the season, it can feel that way, but you, my friend, you matter. And I really hope that I can help you with that. So kind of with that, the first part I want to talk through is time management. So everyone kind of has different approaches. And I think as creatives, and especially in wedding season, like it can be very fluctuating. Like sometimes this season might look different than the next. And that's okay. So what your time and what your schedule looks like now might look and probably will look very different in the next couple months and even in like the next like seasons. And so I want you to know that if you're someone who has struggled with routines, I can say that I myself have. It's really hard to stick with the same routine all the time because I'm traveling all the time or, you know, my weekends and weeknights and all of those things can look so different. But I do know that there are different like ways to kind of get ahead of it. And so one thing that I've found for me when it comes to time management is evaluating the week ahead. So I don't do it like this is my daily routine and this is what I'm going to be doing all the time, but rather I kind of sit through and look at, okay, what season am I in? What does this upcoming month look like? And what does this week need to look like? And so I'll kind of sit down on Sunday nights and kind of look at my schedule ahead and I'll kind of plan ahead. Okay, what do I want my morning to look like tomorrow? What do I want like the next couple of days to look like? And really just take it day by day. And I think going into it with a plan for just kind of the short term is so much less overwhelming than trying to be like, okay, I got to wake up at 6 a.m., go for a run, make my breakfast. I'm going to be back at my desk by 8 a.m. and then I'm going to start editing. And that can just sound really overwhelming. Even just saying that sounds really overwhelming. And maybe you might have a day like that, but I don't really function like that. And if you don't either, that's totally fine. I used to kind of sit and get down on myself and looking at all these people who seem to have it all together. Like they're always doing the same workout. They're always doing the same like breakfast, meal prep, all those things. And I'm like, man, like that is just not me. And I've felt like maybe there's something wrong with me or why am I not like that? And it can just be this downward spiral. So anyway, all of this to say is when it comes to your time management, if you feel overwhelmed when it comes to getting into a routine, and if you're feeling overwhelmed with the schedule and everything up ahead, literally just take it day by day. Look at what does tomorrow look like? How can you prepare for that? Maybe it's setting aside some meal prep for tomorrow, or maybe it's just picking out your outfit or scheduling something like, okay, I'm going to work out, but maybe I'm going to finish these 3 things first and then do that. Like whatever that looks like do what works best for you. I had a friend once who she doesn't, if she doesn't feel like working, she doesn't work. She's like, I'm not going to be productive, so why force myself to work right now? And I think sometimes we can get into these rhythms of, oh, I schedule this time, I need to be working, and then you're not productive. You're just sitting there forcing yourself to stare at a computer, but your brain's off. Like that is a trigger where you should probably go for a walk. Don't feel like you need to sit there and force yourself into something if you're not feeling it. She calls it intuitive working. And when you do have that energy and you are ready to work, go work. But like I said, making a plan is really important, but also you can adapt the plan. Like you need to be listening to how you feel and you need to be taking care of yourself first. Okay, so on the topic of time management and kind of prepping yourself for the week, one thing I'll do every week is I will set up my call calendar. So if you don't have this tool, I highly recommend it. There's this tool called Calendly, and it connects with your Google Calendar. And so what I love about this app is I can set aside time blocks throughout the week of when I'm going to be available to meet with clients. So whether it's a client reaches out and they're interested in me booking their wedding, or they want to talk through their timeline or just get a time on my calendar, I will then send them a link to my Calendly so that then they can see my calendar, see my availability, and schedule a time there. Usually people are able to make a time work, and I do let them know if that doesn't work, let me know, but I try to stay within that just because it really protects my time. And I find that if I'm doing calls every single day, it really messes up with my ability to stay in a focused mode. And so that's been really helpful. And another thing that's been really helpful in terms of time management has been just scheduling shoots on specific nights. So I'll usually choose like 2 nights for the week where that will be where I'm doing my shoots. If I have an engagement session or, fall season, at least here in the Midwest, everyone wants to do their mini sessions in the fall. And even though I'm not a family specific photographer, I do have couples that I just love to see them every single year. So I'll set aside some time for those and I'll have those scheduled usually on weeknights, just because as we all know, weekends are very rare to have off. And so you want to make sure that I at least want to make sure that I can have that time with friends and family. And so I'll usually schedule evenings for shoots. So that's how I really protect my time. And that's what I've found to be really helpful. So really just paying attention to how am I feeling right now and making sure that I am really effective with just how I'm setting myself up for the week, even just taking it day by day and really listening to my body and what does it need, and trying to move my body when I can, but also not being super strict because we all can use a little grace here. And I think it's so important to just take care of yourself. All right, so that was time management. Next, I'm going to talk about just the importance of connecting with others. And for me, connecting with industry friends has been a game changer for me since going into this profession. And I think it can be so easy just sitting there on your own little island at your desk and just kind of feeling isolated, really, because if you think about it, we're shooting on the weekends or even evenings, which is usually when most people with a 9 to 5 are off. And so you've got friends and family who are trying to hang out with you, but you're too busy because you're at a wedding. And so you're missing that time with them on the weekends. And then during the week, you've got all this workload of managing a business. And with that comes so many things like marketing, emails, like task management, and, editing is a huge one. I know that's like probably the number one thing, which I'll talk about later. But really, like connecting with other industry friends has made it such a more enjoyable job. Like I can't tell you how much it has changed my life. Just even asking photographers, hey, do you want to go to a coffee shop and edit today? I'll usually pick tasks like editing or culling because those are tasks where I'm looking at my screen, but I can still listen and talk to people while I'm doing those things. When I'm doing things like email or deep work type things, that's a little more difficult to make a social event, but I love going to a good coffee shop and meeting up with other photographers. And one thing I even have is like I have some friends that I've gotten really close with over the years. And last year, and we're making a tradition of it, is we booked a cabin in the fall, and it was just during the week because all the weekends get booked, and all of our friends and family they're not available on weekends. So we're like, hey, we're like really good friends. Let's just go and like do a little like retreat this fall. And so we booked it for a couple of nights. We went up to this lake. We had a hot tub and we were right on the lake, and it was the most amazing little thing. And we were still working. So like some of us had editing, some of us were doing goal planning, and we just like connected, and it was so fun just to get away even in the middle of the week. And for those of you who do this full time, like take advantage of that. Like look at what can you do with this job that other people can't. Like I can tell you right now, I've got friends who they work their 9 to 5, and there's no way they could just randomly book an Airbnb in the middle of the week spontaneously. Like that is a huge perk. So like look for those perks, and with this job comes so much flexibility. Try to find those things that like you would really enjoy doing that. Maybe you wouldn't be able to do otherwise, and go do them. Like, it's okay. And you can still find a way to incorporate work and still getting stuff done. And on the topic of connecting with others, please do not forget about your friends and family, or you have a husband or wife that you live with. Like, please don't make them your roommates. Please don't make them second to last. They still matter. And so make sure you have time for them, or at least schedule something. So maybe you're looking at your calendar and like, okay, this month is already over. That is like totally valid. I feel that too. But one thing I've been trying to be more intentional about is reaching out to the people I do care about and saying, hey, the next couple of weeks are super busy for me, but could we get a time on the calendar for in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks? And just having that out there so that you have something to look forward to with your friends, and they know that you care about them, and you want to spend time with them. Because sometimes it can be really tough to like commit to something right now because it's like, I have so much on my plate, right? And you never want to get to that point, but it can be like that when you're in the thick of it. And so making sure that you have time set aside to, like, whether it's even just FaceTime with them or do a phone call when you're driving, like, still try to find those touch points, even if it can't be in person because you're shooting weddings on the weekends or traveling a lot for work. So just making sure that you still have those touch points with friends and family. I know it can be pretty isolating. It can be tough sometimes. But making sure that you make time for that. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about time management and the importance of setting yourself up for success when it comes to your time. We've also talked about the importance of staying connected, whether that's with other people within the wedding industry or friends and family, and just how relationships really matter. And next, I really want to transition into just talking about practical tools. I'm going to share some of my favorite tools that have been really helpful for me. And the first one is my CRM. So we use Dubsado. It is a client management tool that basically helps you with everything from when they inquire to creating basically a little profile for them. And in there, you can link your invoices, your contracts, and basically keep track of all your communication and questionnaires, all the things. And that has been huge. It keeps you organized. You don't have to do things manually. You can have your email templates already ready to go, and all you have to do is make small adjustments to it. And my favorite part about it is just all the automations. So we have a whole workflow that Luke and I sat down and talked through, ranging from, like, basically we just sat down and talked through every single touch point from the point they reach out to after they get their gallery. And so it's a huge range there, but we took a lot of time just thinking through, okay, what are the touch points we want to have? And what are the emails that we're sending? When are we sending them? And just like mapped that whole thing out and set up a fully automated system. It's still very personalized, and we do have different checkpoints. So if you don't want things to automatically send, basically what we'll have is for some points in the process, we'll get a prompt. So we'll get an email saying like, hey, this email needs to get approved. And then I can go in, make any personalized adjustments for that client, and then it'll send once I kind of make those. So automation doesn't mean it always has to send. I think sometimes people can get a little worried about that, but what I love about especially Dubsado is just how customizable the whole process is, and how we were able to dream up, okay, what do we want this to look like for us? What is our unique experience, and how do we do that? So I love that. It also automatically sends invoices and just makes it so easy to manage all of this, because right now I'm probably thinking about next week's wedding. I'm not going to be thinking about the wedding that's in 4 weeks or 5 weeks. Like, we kind of have to take things one day at a time. And so for them to already get these emails, or for me to get these prompts reminding me, hey, you got to send this email. Do you want to send it as is? Do you want to add anything to it? Like, that's super helpful. I love that. So if you are using a CRM or you are interested in learning more, I highly recommend Dubsado. Feel free to use the link in the show notes if you'd like to check it out. But it is awesome. I think you get a discount when you use that link. Okay, my next tool that I want to talk about is ClickUp. So ClickUp is a task management tool. And what I love about it is they do have a free version, so you don't have to pay for it. But I love that you can just like set up all your tasks for the week and in that place kind of arrange them. So we use this feature called sprints. So basically we have 3 different folders, and each folder is essentially a sprint. So with that, the sprint is 2 weeks long, and I have different categories ranging from this is what needs to be done, this is what's in progress, and then this is complete. And so you can kind of move things around and have things that you're thinking about for right now. If, let's say, something comes up, I'm like, oh, I've got this task I need to do. I'm not going to be able to get to that in the next 2 weeks. I can schedule it for the following sprint. And then anything that doesn't get completed will move to the next one. It's really hard to explain, but hopefully I did a good job with that. But basically, it just helps you manage your tasks really well. There's another similar tool called Trello. That's one. I know some people use Airtable. Just ClickUp is one that we've really loved, and you can really time block your times. And I think there's like a calendar view you can use, which I don't use a ton. I basically just use the Kanban and the sprints, but it's an amazing tool. And we have a lot of different things that we have for like all of our clients. So each client project we have set up workflow with ClickUp. So it's basically like this ongoing checklist that I'll be able to go through. So anything ranging from uploading and editing the photos to, different blog posts, things like that. It really just like lays it all out there, and it's so helpful. So that in conjunction with our CRM is so helpful. And so that's really helped us manage our workload and stay organized in terms of communication and just getting things done and staying organized with our to-do list. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about my favorite tool for culling. So on the editing side, the first thing I do, and one thing that keeps me sane, is I'll actually cull the wedding immediately after the wedding, which maybe sounds crazy, but whether I do this the next day or I might wait till Monday, but the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything else is I'm going to force myself to go through and cull the wedding. The reason I like to do it right after the wedding is because it's still so fresh in my mind. And so I'm able to like look back at these photos and remember the significance of them. Like, okay, that's a interesting photo. Like, why did I take that? And like, I might remember the moment closer to what it was. And it just kind of helps me stay fresh with like what was going on in that day, and hopefully just like telling a complete story. So I love culling the day after. It also, I like to cull before I send out sneak peeks. And the reason I like to do that is because what I used to do is I used to go in, scroll to sunset photos, click one of those, and then edit and send it. But what I like doing now instead is I like to cull first before I do any editing, before I do anything, just to make sure that I have all of that done. And I think sending sneak peeks can be one of the more fun things, because it's like, oh, I can't wait to share this with a couple and get immediate feedback, because if you're like me, you just love being told how much your work is great. And sometimes you just need that feedback because it's just so exciting. But instead of just rushing to that, I force myself to the culling, because later on, once the excitement kind of fades after a couple of days, and you realize like, oh man, I've got to go through thousands and thousands of photos, it feels a little less exciting. And so I like to do that before it gets to that point, and it helps me just stay on top of it. And so my favorite tool for that is Narrative Select. They do have a free version, and I think the free version is honestly so great. I think there might be a cap on 6 galleries per month, but it's amazing because you can just upload the full gallery. It'll zoom in on people's faces. You can just click to the next photo and immediately see whether or not their eyes are open, which is amazing for when you're doing family photos and just group photos. So I love that app. It's super great. If you've never heard of it, it's amazing. There's other ones too, but that's just the one I use because it's literally free. I pay $0 for it. So that's Narrative Select. And then this tool that I'm going to talk about next is a lot newer tool. And this one is one that I started using earlier this year. And I've got to say, I've been very impressed. So it's called Imagine AI. And if you've never heard of Imagine AI, think of it like this. It basically, instead of you going through and individually putting your presets on all your photos and having to do all of these adjustments, you can actually upload like thousands of photos that you've already edited, and essentially it will learn your editing style. And so I actually tried this. I was very skeptical at first, thinking like, no way, that sounds insane. I've tried it, and literally you upload your photos, it creates these profiles for you, and then you can, after you've gone through and done your culling, you can then upload everything to Imagine, and then it will spit back out edits within 20 minutes. So that's about for 1,000 photo gallery. And I must say, it's very impressive. I wouldn't say it's like a one click and done type thing. That comes over time apparently. But I love to use it as just like a first pass. And so I will use Imagine AI as a tool for myself to just like save time in terms of not having to go through and individually add my preset, do all these things and whatever. Like it kind of like really, it gets really smart. So it's saved me literally hours and hours and hours of my time. So when I'm going through the photos for first time in Lightroom, it's already got my edited generally there, which has been awesome. So I'm focusing on straightening and cropping and editing things out of the background rather than trying to get that perfect light adjustment and color adjustments right off the bat. So obviously there's still gonna be some tweaks to be there. I think it's a tool, not a one click, everything's done. Like some people might use it, but it's amazing. It saves so much time. And there are definitely some photos or sections even where I go through, I'm like, these are perfect. I don't even have to make changes. And that's amazing. So if that sounds amazing and you want to give Imagine AI a try, use the link below. You get some free edits that you can get out of it. You can try the tool for free, see if you like it. I highly recommend giving it a go, and let me know what you think if you do try it. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. All right, and the last tool I want to talk about today, I feel like I could do several episodes like this because there's so many tools to talk about, but last one I'm going to talk about today is QuickBooks. So we have been using QuickBooks for several years now, and it's an amazing tool. One of my favorite parts about it is it has an app that tracks your mileage. So anytime I'm driving in the car, it tracks that, and I can then later just go in and swipe and just say business or personal, and it's awesome. So it's a great tool to use for tracking mileage. And then also it just basically, we have our business credit cards set up where it just automatically links to QuickBooks. So it's managing all of our expenses. We just every once in a while have to go in and categorize any expenses that have been done. And then also we use it for payroll. So it's awesome. Basically at the end of the year, we just export our QuickBooks. As long as we keep it up to date, it is good to go. And that has been saving so much time. And so if you're already like dreading tax season as we're getting closer to the end of the year, I highly recommend QuickBooks. It's amazing. Most people use it, and there's a reason for that. All right, friends, I know that's been a lot of different tips, tools, all the things, just in terms of how to get through wedding season and what to do when it's busy. And I hope that you found this helpful. I really want to leave you with today is just the importance of taking care of yourself. I know that this season can be really tough, and there's so many people that you're serving and trying to connect with and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's so important that you take care of yourself. I can't tell you how many seasons I've come out of just realizing at the end of it how much I've neglected myself, how much I've failed to take care of my mental health, my physical health, all the things. And that's been so hard. And like I've said, I'm not perfect at this. These are just things I've found helpful. And honestly, I'm always trying to do things more efficiently and better. And so I'm sure I'll have more episodes in the future on similar topics, but really look at your schedule today. I want you to go in, if you haven't already, and schedule a day for yourself. Even if it's just a couple time blocks throughout the week for yourself, where you can just like take a breather, like go for a walk, go to your favorite restaurant, or, schedule that time that you need to just kind of decompress. Journaling has been really helpful for me, listening to music and just kind of really turning off business mode and really just connecting with, okay, what do I value in this life outside of work? And when you are running your own photography business and you are your brand, it's so hard to separate yourself from the business side of it, because maybe you work from home, maybe everything is on your phone and you just feel like you need to be checking emails all the time. Like maybe you just need to take a day off where you just delete your apps off your phone, or you turn your phone off. Heaven forbid we turn our phones off, right? But I've had to do that, and I can't tell you how important that's been for me. So I really hope that you can find time for yourself in this season. I really hope you also found this episode helpful. And if you did, please let me know. I would love to hear, what are your thoughts on today's episode? How has it helped you? What are you going to do for yourself, or what tools are you going to start implementing in your business as a result? So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Take Your Shot podcast. If you found this podcast helpful or insightful, we would absolutely be honored if you could take a moment to leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening on. If you have any friends who you think would benefit from this podcast, please share it with them. And lastly, we absolutely love connecting with you all on social media. You can find us using the links below in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.